Dear Diary, this week it was a happy one. New York State just got more fun. Legislation finally passed and legally we can smoke grass. That's right, you heard it in this verse. The Empire State has broken the curse. They'll open up dispensaries where all the stoners will buy their trees. The cannabis ship is surely afloat. There's a flag of Snoop Dogg at the front of the boat. 420, a statewide holiday, where in everyone's hand there will be a J. Afro Man blasting loud in all of the cars, and emptier sooner becomes all the bars. But the diners and drive-thrus are packed to the max. Weed makes you so hungry, and that's simply on facts. But what about brothers that should be set free? 'Cause they sold you their weed, quote, illegally. Don't pretend you can't see or you only read Braille. Open up that big mouth, get them out of that jail. You got something to say when that joint sits too long, or you're singing along to your favorite rap song. Now's the time to step up. Yeah, you do have a choice. It's time to speak up for those who've had stolen their voice. Those rotting in cells for pushing dime bags, while white boys roam freely, just shooting red flags. When I write all my jingles, they're mostly in jest. But let this one sink in, like that smoke in your chest.
Time for
the
Rocket
Welcome, my party gods, to the Rocky Rundown, where you get to learn a little bit about my week. I'm visiting with my family in Connecticut this week because it's Easter weekend and he has risen. Oh, man. I wish I could say that about a man. He has arisen. I came and he's risen. Soon enough, though, right? Soon enough. Everyone in my family is almost vaccinated, but you gotta do the responsible thing and go get a COVID test when you go outside your bubble, even if it's an outdoor, socially distant celebration. So I did, and the doctor said for me to just wait in the room while my results came back. Which, like a lot of you have probably had your fair share of COVID tests like I have this year. This was a first. I went into an internal panic. Oh my God, I only wore one mask to the laundromat. I got too close to this person. Can you catch COVID from the wind? Ugh. It was very reminiscent of getting an STD test, honestly. Do not turn your noses up at me. You know exactly the feeling I'm talking about, and that's why you're laughing right now. And if you don't know the feeling of getting an STD test, grow the fuck up. Anyways, I'm COVID-free, as you can be. Do you hear that? That was my dad in the background. Told him I was recording. He doesn't give a fuck. And he just put the TV on. This is going to be a weed-heavy rundown. As you heard in the opening, they legalized recreational marijuana use. About damn time. The devil's lettuce should be called nature's nurture. Oh my God, that's so good. I'm trademarking that. That's what everyone's going to be saying now, right? Eventually, everyone's going to have their own weed strain. Guys, gotta try this dank-ass blue ball sack. It's so sticky. Unless your name is Christopher Bridges, you better never call weed sticky to my face. If you're feeling generous this week, please find your way over to GoFundMe. My old friend Kyle Carter and his creative partner are producing a movie entitled Nanobus. Nanobus the movie is a comedic satirical film that highlights the inequities of the war on drugs, the injustice, not the band, in communities of color, the battle for black equity in the legal cannabis market, and the American stew of capital infrastructure and political influence that imprisons the independent growers and creators while expanding this lucrative market for the primarily white, wealthy, and connected. Sounds funny, right? Every dollar you donate to them helps them to protect the integrity, equity, and creative control of their project. They also plan on partnering with Black-owned cannabis businesses that they meet along the way. So follow Nanabis Movement on Instagram for a link to their GoFundMe. That's NANABISMOVEMENT. Show my old friend some love on a movie that is sure to be a showstopper. And once again, speaking of cannabis, it is time for my highest thoughts of the week. I'm going to call them this week the highest thoughts and the highest moments because I fell asleep on the couch while I was insta-stalking a man. That's new. Scrolling and falling asleep while I scroll. I've never done that before. And I was looking at a guy's profile, and he's not famous, but very well known, but has a forgettable face. I mean, maybe you'd know him if you blew him kind of face. Otherwise, he just sinks into the monotony of guys. But I was really deep on his Instagram profile when I woke up to my thumb on a really old post. Glad I didn't like that. I don't know if he would have noticed, but that would have been pretty fucking embarrassing. Yeah, he's not super famous. He has like 200K followers, but that's still kind of a lot. Don't worry about who it is. It doesn't matter. I was talking via text to a man, and I was telling him how addicted to our phones we are. He suggested that I adjust my screen time. Like that actually works. You might as well say an apple a day keeps the doctor away, okay? Keep your fucking suggestions to yourself and send me a dick pic, please. Just kidding. I don't want your dick pics. I don't want them. But it's nice to be asked, you know? Yeah, right. No man's ever asked to send a dick pic. They just show up. I enjoy being a girl. My next highest thought was who was the first person to ever sext. And I'm talking when we had to pay 10 cents a text. Someone had to be the absolute first, and who was it? It really, really bothers me that we'll never, ever, ever get to know that. You know? And this thought kind of ties in, but it just crossed my mind again while I was texting while high. Autocorrect is so insanely nosy. Stop. No, I didn't mean that word. It's worse than T9 when you're trying to sext at 10 cents a message. What do you think is worse? When people used to sext at 10 cents a text, misspelling something and leaving it, or paying the 10 cents to send the corrected word. That's how you could tell back in the day probably if someone was really broke. The effort they put into their misspellings in sext. Just stop auto-correcting my words. My guest this week is the absolutely hilarious, down-to-earth, fun, and motherfucking wild Veronica Garza. And her wild word was New York. Can't hit the high notes in that song. It was like a Kevin Hart Kermit the Frog remix. New York. So that was her wild word. And something special about this episode is she touches on a subject that has not been touched on ever on this show. So that's kind of exciting. Thank you for tuning in, my party gods. Welcome to any new listeners in the Party God Squad. Find me on Instagram and TikTok at Wild Nights with Rocky, Twitter at Wild Nights Pod. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, and review. Writing a review on Apple Podcasts does make a difference, so thank you to those who have. Thanks in advance to those who are going to do it after this episode. And enjoy my Wild Nights conversation with Veronica Garza. Veronica, welcome. Thank you for doing the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
Absolutely. So we're both in New York right now, correct? You're in
Yes.
Brooklyn?
I'm in Brooklyn.
I'll give everyone your exact address after. No, I'm just kidding.
Come by 4th and 9th Street. Just tell me you're outside. Like, I'm right by the stop. It's like the best. I love it.
A lot of people are having negative pandemic experience. Some people are having middle ground. How are you doing personally? Are you doing all right?
I'm okay now. It's a year in, so I am at the point. I was talking to another comedian that actually lives near me. He recognized my dog, so we were having a chat outside one day, and this was just this week. He mentioned it's Mark Anthony Ramirez, just to like throw out Mark's name. But he was like, "How are you?" I'm like, I'm not. I'm not anxious anymore. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not angry. I'm also not super happy. He goes, "Are you numb right now?" And I'm just thinking,
Yeah.
I think I'm at the point where I'm kind of numb, because I'm just so ready for us to get to this next phase of whatever it
Right,
is.
right.
And I mean, I've been very fortunate, knock on wood, throughout the pandemic. Like I've kept my job, work from home. I've transitions to doing, virtual comedy,
Mhm.
which is, once you get the kind of hang of that, it's been fun. I'm enjoying that. I'm meeting
Right.
new people online in different countries, different
Absolutely.
states. So I purposely set up this thing like when you get out of here, you're gonna know all these people. You can go to these places whenever we can go.
Right.
And last summer would have been hard, but me and my partner, this is a fun story to tell later one day, but we actually like went to Provincetown last year. We ended up getting jobs there and
Oh,
staying on the beach all summer, which was a
wait,
very
in
fun,
summer of 2020?
yeah.
Oh
So
my God,
yeah,
that's so cool.
it was cool. It was kind of like we were adult camp counselors,
Yeah.
and like in front of like we would do. There was a bonfire we'd be in charge of. It was very fun. It's another story that I have yet to realize how to write down, but I did write like this pilot about it. Regardless, that was what we did last year, and it sucked
Yeah.
because people would be like, "How is the pandemic?" If you'd asked me last year in August, I'd be like, "Well, it's great," but like also, it's given the situation we had, and I mean, I would throw back any of that, take back to get all the normal life back. But
Yeah, I agree. That whole, if you're someone who's enjoying the pandemic experience, it's hard to be someone enjoying the pandemic experience. I had a similar summer last year. My family has like a big yard. It's like the home base at my grandma's
oh
house.
yeah.
And so we would all, like all the kids and grandkids, we all would go hang out at my grandmother's house. Everybody's like socially distant, safe, always
Aw.
outdoors. But my family was already close. And I feel like that made us even closer. So I'm really grateful for that. And so, on one hand, you're like, of course, you want to give everybody, like, not have to have this horrible experience, but you can, I think, in the same breath, you can count your blessings and say,
Very much.
I was lucky during this. So,
Very, very lucky. And I think it's been a very much, a learning lesson for
mhm,
both me and my partner because
mhm,
even if it's a healthy relationship, relationships aren't meant for you to see the partner every day, every
absolutely not. I can't
damn
imagine. Yeah.
hour. I
Yeah.
mean, I'll sometimes scream, I'm like, I don't want to see your face. I love her. I love her face, but I don't want to see it.
Especially when you're sharing, well, you guys were in Providence, but if you were
in
sharing
Provincetown, yeah.
Provincetown, but if you're sharing a New York apartment.
Well, we went through the beginning in a studio apartment. Like we were early before the pandemic, it was oh, when are we going to move in together? She has a studio apartment or had. I was living in Crown Heights.
Uh-huh.
We had this dog. Finally, we got this dog together, and it was more like, okay, I'm ready for us to move in together.
Mhm.
The discussion was, May I move in before the summer because we're going to be busy outside. It's New York anyway.
Yeah, who
We're
wants to
going to
move
be
in the
running
summer?
around. So who cares if we're in a studio? We really don't see each other a lot anyway when during, pre-COVID because I'm out
Mhm.
doing shows performing and she does photography, so she's out working all the time anyway.
Gotcha.
So it was like, oh, this will work out great. But then COVID hit, life, all the situations happened. So by March, I told my roommate, you know what? I'm gonna move in with my partner because her industry was shutting down for a couple months. I'm
Mhm.
like, let's move in together. Moved in together, and then her lease was up by August, so we moved to a new place that's like 2 bedrooms.
Okay.
But before we did it in the studio, and the fact that we made that work says so much.
Yeah. I would say that would make you guys true blue New Yorkers.
You think so? Yes. Here's that yeah, you're right. You're right. I
True
like
blue
what you
New
did there.
Yorkers. So, Veronica's wild word was New York. That's how
Uh-huh.
that's how I'm interpreting it to be said, but she can say it differently if it needs to be. You can give me a line reading.
All
So
right.
everyone is anxiously awaiting your wild night story about
Okay.
New York. So let's hear.
Right. Okay. So, I'll start with this. This summer, actually, I'm excited to the fact that July 10th is going to be my 10-year anniversary of moving to New York.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm very excited about it. And in this time, especially lately, we've had all this time in the pandemic. I've been reflecting on a lot of my things that made me who I am now in New
Hmm.
York City. Because this is it's a very hard city to live in. I mean, when I started, I was counting how many jobs I had just my first 2 months here. I think it was like 10. Like I
Wow.
was always out just like who needs this? Who needs this? I didn't care. I didn't know anybody. I was hustling, blah, blah, blah. And I was networking and like just thinking of all these stories. And there's certain things that I just realized I haven't really shared. And when I do share, other comics are telling me, this needs to be a story.
Yeah.
You need to tell that. And I don't know. I just wasn't prepared or ready yet. You have to be mentally prepared to share these stories.
So let me ask you, you moved to the city 10 years ago. Were you moving to the city in preparation to try stand up, or just living here made you say, I'm going to do this?
It's a bit weird. I'm from Dallas, and
Uh-huh.
I had a really good friend here who I've known since we've known each other half our lives. But she mentioned I left a job in Dallas and I didn't know what I was gonna do. And I
Mhm.
had been talking about, oh, I'm gonna move to New York at least sometime. And so once that job fell through, my good friend was living here. She's like, move here and try it out for 3 months,
Yeah,
3 to 6 months. So I figured, sure, why not? And I had done comedy in Dallas for a couple of months, but it just wasn't clicking for me. I just wasn't.
yeah.
It was a big fish, small pond thing. The people who were there are still the same people like running the show. It wasn't.
Gotcha.
I didn't see myself do it, so I didn't do it, and I did not move to New York City to do comedy. I tell people
Okay.
I moved here to try it out, and it worked. For some reason, it worked out, and it's like, oh, because this is where I'm supposed to be. Like
Mhm.
that, there's a reason these certain situations, like even my first job here, like I work in advertising,
Okay.
and I mean, I got my first job through networking from someone I knew that I would work in the New York office with in Dallas,
Gotcha,
and
gotcha.
his wife got me this agency job, and from there I went to another agency, and I've been, fortunate that I have this like professional resume. I mean, on stage, I'm not professional at all. I am. I love my comedy, but like resume wise, it's like, oh, I want to hire this girl.
Yeah. You can
You know?
financially stay afloat because of the quote unquote credits that
Right.
you've
That's
built in
exactly
the adult job world.
right. My little, being a little adult professional. So
Yes.
that worked out. But the comedy thing, I tried comedy 2 weeks into living here at Eastville, the old Eastville spot
Yeah.
that was on
Mhm.
4th Street, Second Ave, RIP, because
That's the
now it's
basement spot, right? You go down?
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Oh, crickets, nothing. It was an open mic. Crickets, nothing. No one paid attention to me, and it just was horrible. And I'd bombed a couple times before in Texas, but it wasn't that bad. I think it was a little
Mhm.
bit more cushioned there. So that bomb was completely horrible, and I knew comedy for another 2 years.
Okay.
So it wasn't. I didn't move here for comedy. It just happened to be a thing that I kept writing. I'd go for a run and still have these bits in my head. I'm just thinking, oh, I got to find the place to do it, and it ended up working out. Like I went to Mike's at the Cave back when Creek in the Cave was like this
Yeah.
dope spot. Rest
Oh,
in
I
peace
know. I
to
miss
another
it.
spot.
I've done quite a few improv shows there. I miss it
Oh,
a lot.
oh, rest in peace to those. I'm just gonna
Rest in
cry from all the comedy places that are leaving. And
Oof.
Creek isn't dead; it's in Texas now, so it's like we switched areas.
Yeah.
But I didn't move here to do comedy, but I did. I tell people I started comedy in Texas. I learned to be funny in New York City,
Okay.
and maybe it is the hustle. We're surrounded by some of the hardest working people, not just in comedy, but in advertising.
Mhm.
Uh, Anywhere you go, like it's New York City. There's a reason it's known for the best because it does have the best. And it's
Mhm.
made of actual New Yorkers, and then there are these transplants like myself.
Okay.
And I always tell people, I'm like, I'll never be a real New Yorker. I never consider myself that because like I know how to drive. That it pisses off New Yorkers all the time. I'm like, okay, well, how about I shut up and you go parallel park,
Yeah.
and that always shuts it down. That's one of my like favorite things to say on stage. It kind of separates me from the audience, but I'm also aware like I do in some sense like I have this huge connection to New York, and I always
Mhm.
say that. So there's that. But my first year here it's just a blur because I mean, you get here, you're trying to find your place, you're
Yeah.
working. And I moved here in 2011. So it was June. So um in this year, in the first 3 months, it's me doing 10, 11 jobs. Then finally, I get this full time job at this agency. So I'm working there, but I keep a part time job also at a running store
Okay.
on 14th Street between 5th Avenue and 6th Avenue, Jackrabbit. It's a
Okay.
great place if anyone's into running. So I was working there, working at the store, and then, meeting people randomly, going to bars, not caring. I'm like, I don't know anybody. You become this new person here. It's like,
Yeah,
oh,
you're
I
trying to build your life.
exactly, and you
Mhm.
become more social. I'm getting into this like New York. I'm like, oh, this is where this is. This is the Lower Side. Like getting
Yeah.
all this down, like living my life. I'm also 28 at the time,
Okay.
so I'm an idiot. I sort
Yeah.
of like to I'm an idiot. I thought I knew shit. I'm still thinking about it. I was an idiot.
Isn't it crazy?
Um,
You think you're so old at 28 and you think you're so wise, but then you like get into your 30s and you're like, "Oh wow.
I was stupid.
I wish I could do that over."
Exactly, and
Yeah.
some things I think about, like I do think about, like, what I could do over, what I couldn't do over, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"No, I'm kinda glad I burned these bridges with this person, or I made this
Yeah.
mistake, or I said this stupid thing because these mistakes led me to, like, not only, like, New York, it led me to comedy, like, where I am at doing
Yeah.
comedy, led me to being with my partner, being in Brooklyn now, all these things. It's like, no, someone I was like, "Do you regret things?" I was reading something, it's like, "No, I don't regret it because there's no regrets, it's just lessons." So
Yeah.
it's all lessons, and I'm learning to come to peace with that. I mean, we have time. It's in a pandemic. We're not going anywhere, right?
I'll get there. Right now a few of them are just regrets for me.
I mean, sometimes it's like, yeah, I shouldn't have slept with that person. That's
Definitely
the
not.
regret. I learned nothing. If anything, I was teaching the whole time. But so about a year and a half in, I'm like feeling it. Like I'm starting to get like my New York City like vibe
Yeah.
down. You start realizing, oh, this is how I want to dress in New York. This is who I am in New
Your
York.
little
This is
swag,
this.
yeah.
I got my swag going. Yeah. One of my friends told me, she goes, no, this was before New York hit you. And I like that. Cause I'm like, that's exactly it. And
Yeah.
now like I feel it. I love it. This place is like mine. It's great. But
Yeah.
so I'm my good friend Gina. She's the reason I moved here. We've known each other since we were 17 years old.
Mhm.
So we would always, at this point, I'm living in Astoria because I mean, I had already lived, you know, Brooklyn, Flushing, Bronx. And so now I'm
Oh,
in
you got a little
Astoria.
bite of
Oh,
everything.
I got everything. Yeah. Now I'm in
Gotcha.
Park. I got Crown Heights. I did Park Slope. I did even like further south in Brooklyn. But yeah, so at this point, I'm in Astoria. Stayed in Astoria for 4 years. And, I'm going out, drinking, whatever, getting, hailing the cab, feeling like, oh, getting in the cab and asking and telling them where to go after shutting the door. None of that like go to the window bullshit. Like
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like
yeah.
I know like and you no you got to drive me home. I'm in here. I don't
Yeah,
care
I'm
if
already in the car, yep. You can't
it's
say, "I don't
fucking
like that
Queens.
neighborhood." Yes, yeah.
You got to go and I'm going to pay you and I'm going to tip you. I don't
Mhm.
care. So just keep this in mind. And so I told you this one word. It's New York, and when I said
Mhm.
it, it was like New York. It was like Alicia
Okay,
Keys, but
gotcha.
mine is more like because I can't sing. I call it Alicia, not the lost the keys, right? Alicia dropped the keys, like because it's not. I can't hit that, because and also that's the song that plays. I feel like if you move here, you're playing that song every 5 minutes.
I saw her sing that song live at Yankee Stadium.
Oh, so did you cry? Because I'd have cried.
I was happy. I was seeing Justin Timberlake
Yeah,
and Jay-Z. I was happy,
I was
so
gonna say, yeah.
yeah, it was good.
Then that's awesome, and I remember with that because I remember the picture of the McDonald's after that was just a
Packed.
2-hour line or
Yeah.
something for McDonald's. So I remember that. I like that when someone says something about a story about something and I can really, "Oh, I was here then." Even though
Yeah.
I wasn't there, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I remember this."
But I know
So
what you're talking about with that song. So that vibe of New York, like as a New Yorker, if you're listening to that walking the streets with your headphones on, something great just happened to you. I'm with you in that mindset right
right?
now.
Yeah, it's like it's this still this and even now, it's still like this dope
Mhm.
feeling, and when you said it, I'm just thinking, I go, "No, that's it." I was like, "Can it be" you said 1 word, I'm thinking, "Can it be 2 words?" It's a
It can
place,
be
it's
as
a
many
noun.
words as you
2
want.
words, it's a noun. So I'm like, "New York," like, that's it.
Got it.
So it's, December of 2012, so I'm a year and a half in. I know my best friend, we were going to get drinks. We were, what I learned was like, New York, I became a fan of the New York City brunch,
Oh yeah.
which is, it is just an honor and a pleasure. And New York City brunch turned up at, fucking 2 unlimited mimosas.
Oh
It's,
yeah.
I
It's the
mean, now I
best.
know it's the best. Like
It's the best.
I love it. I can't do it anymore.
Shout
I'll
out to
do it,
brunch
but
servers.
thank you.
Yeah,
The most patient people I ever
absolutely.
met, thinking, willing to pretend to be your best friend for 90
Mhm.
minutes. Thank you. Shout out to all servers. But so
Absolutely.
my good friend Gina and I, we would hang out a lot because I mean we've been drinking this before we were old enough to drink together.
Okay.
And through her, I met some other people. And at this point, I was still kind of like stuck in what my sexuality was.
Okay.
I was very much, I mean, when I think about it now, I definitely wasn't like out to myself, but I was definitely up, it was. curious, and like I knew I wasn't completely straight. I was like, am I fluid? What's going on?
So can
So
I
you know,
ask you, if you were a little on the fence about your sexuality, trying to figure it out, were you in New York pursuing guys, or were you just kind of saying, I'm gonna just find my footing before I pursue men and figure out if I like women or if I like both kind of thing?
and that so here's the thing, I didn't even really think about it. Like
They were
that
an
wasn't
afterthought.
yeah, it wasn't a thing I was thinking about because I was more like, "Oh, I'm going out, I'm having fun."
Okay.
And I would hook up with guys.
Mhm.
And then occasionally I would like a girl would, you know, want to kiss me or something, we'd be out.
Yeah.
One of my favorite moments is my first New Year's Eve here. I was at this is gonna hurt to mention this place, coffee shop. Do you
Okay.
remember
I feel
in
I
Union Square?
Is it the one that was on the corner?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, that spot was like my dog's making a noise, but, that spot was that's where I spent some of my first New Year's Eve here, and
Okay.
the first girl I ever kissed in New York City was one of the bartenders there in the
Oh,
back room.
nice. Okay.
They only hired, like, basically models there, so, props to me and rest in peace coffee shop. So, because she was like, "Did you kiss anyone for New Year's?" I'm like, "No." She goes, "Would you like to?" "Yeah, of
Yeah.
course." And also 3 Brooklyn Lager, please.
Yeah.
Because I was with a friend and she was taking a friend out who flew into New York City for New
Mhm.
Year's Eve. So it's my first New Year's Eve, you know, whatever.
So
Um,
exciting.
so things like that would happen. It was always bartenders that wanted to kiss me, lady bartenders. Maybe it's because I was nice and I'm from Texas. I tip well. I'm very polite.
Yeah.
Someone pointed out that I always say please and thank you,
Yeah.
and that's just what I do. That's what I think anyone should do. So situations like that would happen. And once with my friend Gina, we were out and I meet one of her friends and it's this guy, Robert, tall. I say tall Mexican guy because we don't come in that form. Uh,
Gotcha.
we don't. It's just like, who was your dad? Because what happened? He's 6'3" or 6'4". He's a
Oh,
tall
that's
guy,
tall
older
for
guy.
any
Yeah,
race.
for anything. Yeah, anyway, that's 60. That's tall. You're over
Yeah.
6'1". That's like you played sports. We get it. So
I'm
he
lucky
was
if I can
from
find a guy that's 5'11".
oh, that's always a lie. Yeah, well, look for the ones that are 6'1" because then they're
Yeah.
5'11". I
Yeah, yeah,
know this
yeah.
because that's my older brother. Um, so he's like, you know, he's I see him. We get along very well. He's friends with a friend of my friend Gina. So we're all out one night drinking.
Mhm.
He's talking to me because he finds out, you know, I'm from Texas. He's from South Texas. My parents are from South Texas.
Yeah.
We started talking. He talks about he went to Michigan, which is a big football school. I went to
Mhm.
KU, big basketball school. And I'm obviously, you know, I'm gay. I'm very into sports. That's my
Mhm.
type. So I was always this is how I met guys. Like we would always talk about sports, and guys would want to meet up and watch the game. And sometimes I was a date, sometimes it wasn't. I didn't really care. You know, I was more into the game. So this guy Robert, we become Facebook friends. He's like, "Hey, let me get your number if you ever want to watch some Cowboys games together." Oh, totally, yeah.
Yeah.
So this happened maybe like November. So I know this guy, and then Gina and I we go out, we do brunch, we're day drinking, we're out. Robert hits me up. Well, he goes by it's Roberto. He hits me
Mhm.
up. He said, "Hey, Cowboys play at so and so. You wanna watch the game?" I'm already buzzed. I'm like, "Yeah, let's keep this party going."
Hell yeah.
And Gina had to leave. I remember this. She was drunk. It was that point where you're both drunk and it's like you don't know. You guys kind of go separate ways and you just
Yeah.
text each other the next day.
Yeah.
So I was like, "I'm going to watch the game." She's like, "I don't know if I can't make it." And so
Mm-mm.
she was like, going home. Sweet.
Mhm.
So I meet him up at do you this another great spot. This is the first bar I went to in New York City actually. Uh 3 Sheets.
3 Sheets I've heard of, but I have not been there.
It
Is that Lower East Side?
That is in the West Village, right
Oh,
off
West Village.
it's
Okay.
off the West 4th stop.
Okay.
It's right past the McDonald's on West 4th.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
that
I don't think
also
I've
just
been
shut
there.
down.
Oh.
This is just me naming places. If I was there in 2011, it's gone now.
And you know what? They'll be back. Like
They
places will
will.
take their place, but it's like the pre-COVID bars and now the post-COVID bars is what it will be.
That's it, and I'm a little sad because it's like,
Yeah.
you know, who cares? It was McDonald's. I'm like, I had my memories there. I got drunk and went
Yeah.
there like everyone else. It's just a staple, and you eat, we know what we're used to, you know, and it's
Absolutely. Yeah.
a
And what
lot of
bars you're
change so
comfortable at.
quickly. And so Three Sheets was the first bar I went to in New York City.
Okay.
Like I got here that Saturday, that Sunday, that we went to Three Sheets. And it's I wouldn't it's not I wouldn't say it's a straight bar because like gay people will go there. But
Mhm.
it's not a queer bar at all in any way sense. It's a sports bar, but it's also just like you go to drink cheap drinks and get drunk or pregame and then go
Got it.
out for the rest of the night. Very much one of those spots. So Roberto's there. He's like, I'm upstairs. Didn't even know there was an upstairs. I had always got drunk on the first floor there.
That's as far as
So
you made it.
right? And I'm not putting stairs in this mix. Good luck. So I meet him upstairs and we're just watching the game.
Mhm.
And people are playing beer pong in the background. And we're just like beers, like just beer, pitcher beer. Cowboys are winning.
Mhm.
It's great. So we're both hype. I remember I was working at this agency, but I mean, if I went in late, it wasn't a big deal. So I knew I could go out and drink, and my boss was more like, "Get your work done." So I
Yeah.
could go out and like party on a Sunday and get to work at 11 the next day, and wouldn't be a problem.
Mhm.
So I'm like, "Okay, cool, we're drinking." From there, we're at this point we were pretty drunk, and he's like, "Let's go. You want to go next door?" And that was is it Fat Black Pussycat? I believe it was
Okay.
right
Now I
by.
know exactly where you are. Mhm.
So, it's like right I'm just like we're basically just
Mhm.
going one down each one because
Yeah.
if you get further down, it's like the
The
Sellers,
seller's
second spot is
there.
over
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
second spot because then McDougal is that way, right? And the pizza spot's on the corner. So it's
Mhm.
all right. And we haven't gone that far. We just go one over. And so we're going to Fat Black Pussycat and we're there and the bartender's like, "Oh, y'all were watching the game," or "We just mentioned we were watching the game." It's like, "Yeah." He's like, "We'll take some vodka shots." I would never do a vodka shot again, I will say
No.
that. You couldn't pay me enough to do a vodka shot in my life right now. Well, you
They're
could actually,
disgusting.
but they're gross. Like I love like a vodka on the rocks, a good vodka on the rocks. I can drink and be fine.
Even a
But you don't
martini.
Oh yeah. Oh no,
Mhm.
yeah. I've been talking about that because we gave up alcohol for Lent. I'm just thinking
Uh-huh.
about what am I gonna drink on Easter. But so we're there doing vodka shots. Next thing you know, some old guy starts talking to us. It's that drunk haze where everyone's just buying you drinks and
Mhm.
everyone's talking, making friends, and it's cool. I
It's
mean,
fun.
I couldn't tell you a thing I really said that at
Yeah.
that point. So then it gets pretty late and we're like, we can't, I'm like, I got to go to Astoria
Mhm.
and we're sharing a cab because he's also uptown. Roberto's also uptown. So I'm like, okay, cool. We get a cab from like I'm pretty sure right on West Fourth, like in
Mhm.
the West Village, and get in the cab, and we're in the Lower East Side, and I look, but this driver is taking so long to get east. I'm like, you could just go straight. It's not going to take a long time, or you
Yeah.
could just go south and then just zoom up. And I'm also this is part of me feeling like very New York is I knew that from the Lower East Side to my apartment in Astoria, it was $17.25 to
Yeah.
get there. This is also how cheap it was. Um,
Well, I think it's a testament to say you were in a yellow cab, which
mhm,
people don't. I actually had an episode a few weeks ago where I was talking with someone about yellow cabs in New York, and people nowadays, everything's Uber, everything's Lyft. They don't realize that there was a time in New York where we had to take a yellow cab, and sometimes that shit was upwards of 15 to $30, and you wouldn't know. So if you're somebody
right.
who was constantly coming from that, you would know the price and you would know
I
it to the
always knew.
T.
And
Exactly.
I would know how it would range or like range like you're taking because I was on when I lived in Astoria I was on Steinway Street and Astoria Boulevard so I was a
Perfect.
little bit like east going that
Mhm.
way and I know sometimes they would take Steinway Street and go up north from like Northern Boulevard
Right.
which is completely fine. I just be like, why are you taking this way? Why can't you? Oh well, the bridge is this. Okay, cool. Like I'm learning. I would always ask questions because I want to know how to get around here. Like I
Good,
also had
yeah.
a car at the time, and I'm a big fan of like knowing where I am, knowing what's where. It was just here. I want to be able to like say this shit when people visit.
Nothing wrong with
So
that.
right, and so I know that it's $17.25. It's range, 17, 19. That's fine because I just want to get home at this time, and it's
Okay.
2 in the
Mhm.
morning. So we're going, and I see in the Lower East Side, it's already like we're in the cab, both of us in the back of the cab, in the yellow cab. I'm just kind of mad. I'm like, why are you taking so long? Why are you just basically doing squares? And I mean, I'm aware that they do this shit when you're drunk.
Yeah.
Like sometimes they want to push up the fare.
Mhm.
And so I'm calling him out. I'm just thinking, dude, why are you just taking the scenic route? What's your deal? And he's like, no, this is the way to go. I go, no, it's not. Because at this point, it was already almost $18 and we hadn't even left the Lower East Side. So I'm
Jeez.
just like, dude, what's your deal? And he just kind of like, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm just thinking, no, I know how much this fare's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So I said, pull over. I'm getting out. I was like, I'm not fucking paying for this. So he pulls over and he's like, no, this is what you owe me. I said, no. And I walked out of the cab when he did it. And I'm like, I'm not fucking paying you because you're overcharging me. I just don't see why I should pay you for not listening to me and not providing the service correctly. Like you're
Mm-hmm.
overcharging me, you're trying to upcharge me. You're going this I shouldn't pay this extra $10. I'm sure
Yeah.
that's going to be added.
You were getting taken advantage of by someone who didn't
Yeah.
realize they were taking advantage of the wrong person.
Right. And I'm drunk. And then so I just get out of the cab. I'm like, I'm not doing this. No. He's like, you're gonna pay. I was like, no, fuck you. And then he gets out of the cab and
No.
he pushes me.
And
And so
Roberto is not in the cab with you at this point.
Roberto's in the cab with
He
me
is, right.
because and he's on this side. I'm on this right side. Driver's there, obviously. And I get out and I walk in. I'm like, I'm not fucking paying you. And he's like, you're gonna pay. I was like, no, fuck you. And there was a pizza place there, and I do not remember this exact corner. I need to like try to find I need to walk back and find where this corner is. There was
Retrace
a
your steps.
Definitely, but there was a pizza place there. Which good luck. Like, oh, was that pizza place in the
Yeah.
Lower East Side? Okay, I'm not gonna find it. I'm not gonna find it. But he pushed me so hard, I hit a wall, and I was like, what? I hit the ground after that. And
Oh
I'm a
my
small
God.
person. I'm like 5'2". I'm not a big person at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really like remember this part, but then Roberto gets out of the cab and he goes to the cab driver and he starts holding up against the wall like he's about to hurt him. And I was like, I get up and I'm dazed and I'm like, fuck. I'm just like so angry and
Of
I don't know
course.
what to do. So I just look at this cab driver and he's like, Roberto has him there up against the wall. And I get in his cab. Like I see that his as cab, I get in the car, like the driver's side, the cab's on. I close the door, I put my seatbelt on, and I drove off in the cab. Um, and then I
Oh
drove,
my God.
red light. I click, 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 let the walkers go by, took a right. I got to Second Ave, but I didn't know where to go. And I think I was going south. I'm like, fuck, I don't know how to get back. So I turned back basically into a square and I was right back where it was, almost where it was. I got out an avenue over. I got out of the cab, took out the keys. I just threw them all out and I just walked. And when I walked, I ended up, it was like, where's Roberto? So I walked back to find Roberto and the cops are there.
Of
And
course. Because you just stole a cab.
I just stole a cab. I just drove off in a cab.
Drunk.
I know what it. Yeah, but here's the thing. We'll get to this. It was weird because I put on my seatbelt. Click, click. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, go ahead, pass. Go ahead, guys. Go ahead, cross the street. I went and I turned again, and then I'm just like, you don't know how to. I didn't know how to get to Astoria. Truly, that was my big test.
Mhm.
I'm like, you really don't know how to get back to Astoria. So I just fucking got out. I was like, well, I guess I'll go see where Roberto's up to.
Yeah.
I got out. I walk and I see there's like a cop car there, and they're talking to Roberto, and they're like, da 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 da, and then the cab driver's like, that's her. That's the one that drove off. And I'm like, what? I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, hey guys, what's new? And the cab driver's like, this is the one. This is the girl. And then the officer comes to me. One of the officers comes to me and goes, hey, this man's saying you drove his cab. I'm like, no, I didn't. And he's like, no, we have witnesses saying they saw you drive off in his cab.
Yeah.
No, I don't. No, that wasn't me. He goes, listen, did you drive his cab? And I said, a little bit. I said, a little bit. I did a little bit.
It's a
And he
tiny
goes,
bit. It was just itchy.
just a little bit. They go, okay. All right. So what the officer, he's like, yeah, this is the one. And the officer looks at me and he's like, what? And he goes, okay. So I could see him get on. Da, 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 da. He has to call other people, and he's telling other people, "Come here." I'm like, "Why do?" Next thing I know, there are like 5 different cop cars there, and he's like, "We're gonna have to arrest you." And I'm like, "Man!" So I just put my hands out because I will. I didn't preface with this. This is not my first time being arrested. It is my first time being arrested in New York City.
Gotcha.
I've been arrested twice in Texas prior to this for public intoxication. Both times I was walking home when I was drunk because I did not want to get in a car with my drunk driver. So
damned if you do, damned if you don't.
if you don't, right? So you know what? That's whatever. I'm in New York now. I don't think about my Texas life, and that doesn't stick on your record.
No,
So this is my first time. So he's like, "Come on." I'm like, "I know the drill. Spread your legs." Da 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 da. That searching. Do you have anything on you? No, I have my phone. Da 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 da. Okay, we're gonna have to take you in. So they handcuffed me. Also, I have a bruise right here. It hurts when he handcuffs me. I can't like move my thumbs a little bit.
Yeah, because
Uh,
the driver assaulted you.
assaulted me, pushed me into there. So I'm bruised up here and he's trying to handcuff me. And I'm like, officer, it really hurts. And he's like, okay. And they weren't dicks to me about that, but it was interesting. So I'm there. They have to hit, fill out paperwork and listen to witnesses, tell what they saw. So they're getting this paperwork down. I'm standing there. Roberto is like not even making eye contact with me. He's pissed off. He's like, okay, rightfully so. So I'm sitting here handcuffed, but during this time, cops are coming up to me and they're like, hey, I need you to tell them what you did. I'm like, why? Just tell them. And they were like, you did that? And they were laughing about it. And they were kind
Shocker.
of laughing at the cab driver because they're like, why would you leave your cab?
Yeah.
He left his cab with the keys in there, with the ignition running. And it's just
To
like, that's
shove a 5'2" woman.
right. It's exactly it. So they have to take me in, so they put me in a squad car. That's the last time I saw Roberto for like little bit, and then they took me in, but they were trying to fingerprint me, and I was telling him, I'm like, this hurts. You can't. He goes, I
Yeah.
need you to move your hand. I go, I can't move my hand like this. So he's like, okay, we need to take you to the hospital. So they have to take me. They take me to the hospital that's near Union Square,
Mm.
and
By
it's
8th
at like
Ave.
near. Yeah, like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
one. No, 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 not that one. The one near Irving Plaza. There's one in that area. Like there's
Mm.
a hospital in that area. I have a former roommate in the Bronx who told me he went to that one once when he drank too much and he had like alcohol poisoning.
Can I
And
ask, did you say to the police officers, "This cab driver shoved me into a wall"?
mhm,
You told them, okay.
I told them, I'm like, he pushed me. And
Mhm.
they just weren't even listening to that,
Dang.
which is unfortunate. So they take me and they're trying to fingerprint me, and then they realize, oh, we have to take her to the hospital. So they take me to the hospital. The thing I'll tell you is when they take you to the hospital, they they handcuff you're in handcuffs,
Mhm.
but they also handcuff your feet. So when I showed up to the emergency room, I'm wearing these purple jeans, a cute black sweater with this cute Obey leather jacket I had with I remember these Steve Madden black boots that were released for to celebrate the release of the Hunger Games movies.
Gotcha, not the
Uh,
Madden. She had the Maddens on.
and the Steve Madden, and that's why I bought the boots. Like this
Yeah.
was at the Steve Madden near Union Square. I tried them on. I was going through a breakout a couple months ago, and he's like, "These are the ones in the Hunger Games." I'm like, "These are dope."
Yeah.
So I bought
Dope.
them. They were very cute, and I'm coming in. I'm wearing this little cute, very nice, because colored jeans were in. It was 2012,
Yeah.
so I had my purple jeans on that day because I had all the different colors, and then but all these handcuffs. And then one of the nurses sees me and the cop's like, we got to check her in. She needs to get checked out. She's complaining about this pain in her hands. They're like,
Yeah.
okay. The nurse was like, what'd you do? And I was like, I murdered someone. And, she goes, and the cop looked at me and was like, oh, I did it. I stole a cab. And so I'm like this the whole time. And so
Yeah.
then the cop, like he has to stay there with me, but they take me, then they handcuff you to the bed. So you're stuck to the bed there. You can't move. Like that's just the thing. Like you're stuck in the
Jeez.
bed. They have to check you out. They have to take me to go get X-rays. They have to clean up this.
Mhm.
They have to, they'll give me ibuprofen.
Whatever,
So
yeah.
I can't. Then I can't leave the hospital till the doctor clears me to go. So I'm at the hospital for I mean, if I had a gauge of time, it had to have been maybe 2 in the morning till about like 9 in the morning. So
Mm.
at some point, the officers have to switch because one gets um, off duty. But it was interesting because none of like the cops were trying to talk to me, and is they were just I mean, they were dicks, like they're cops,
Yeah.
and I'm just thinking, well, I could say shit too, and I'll never forget. I said something about the guy. I was like, you guys all are like large, um, and I said something to the cop. I'm like, were you this size when you entered the academy? And this just shows how much of a dick I am. The
So
cop
funny.
goes, "No, I've put on a few pounds since then." And I was like, God forbid you have to run after a suspect, right?" And he was like, oh, he looked at me, and I was like, "Oh, thank God you got a gun." And
Yeah.
I
Just
said
not
that.
giving a shit.
No, and like one of the guys, like the younger cop, kind of laughed. There's this guy Matt. I'll never forget. His name was Matt. And he laughed, and the cop was like, "You got a smart mouth." I'm like, "What are you gonna do? I'm stuck here. What do you want? Who do
Yeah.
you want me to talk to? Like, no one's here." Um, so he eventually had to leave, and then he stuck me with a younger officer named Matt, and Matt was very nice. I talked to Matt, and I was
Mhm.
like, "Why are you a cop, Matt?" He's like, "My dad was a cop, my grandfather was a cop." Typical, blah blah blah. He's
Yeah.
like, "Do you?" He's like, "Hey, switching. I'm going off duty soon. Another officer's coming. Do you, they're getting breakfast. Do you want something?" I was like, "Yeah,
Yeah, coming through.
hey Matt, can you give me a juice?" And he
Stockholm syndrome's kicking in.
right, I was like, "Give me I know, right? Right? Give me a juice. Give me a juice." He got me a juice. He's like, "You don't want a breakfast sandwich?" "No, I'm good." And then before I left, I'm like, "I can't brush my teeth." He goes, "Do you want a piece of gum?" I'm like, "Yeah." He actually got in trouble for giving me a stick of gum. I found out later. He
Wow.
had to drive me. He's like, "Yeah, I got in trouble for giving you a stick of gum." He goes, "People can," he goes, they're, it's weird with their rules." I'm like, "No shit. Like, this is I mean, shit's always been going on with the
Yeah,
cops."
exactly.
So I go back, they finally clear me, and I have to go back to, like regular booking. And I
Mhm.
see Roberto's there and the other cell just laying down asleep. And I was like, hey, he just didn't even want to talk to me, but I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
he, I mean, through time, I found out he's an asshole.
Got it.
But they finally go through there. They're like, okay, we got to take you to another. They take me to another precinct because they're looking for my paperwork because they don't know where it is. So they take me to one precinct and they're like, have me wait in the car. And that's not it. So, and this was the one further like east side, and they take me to another one and they still don't have it together. I think it's about the fourth one they finally get me there, and it's basically they take me near, they actually like, okay, this is paperwork, da, 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 booking, blah blah blah. They finally take me to actual like jail, which is like near Chinatown, like that
Oh
one spot.
god.
It's near the actual prison where what's his name, Billy McFadden from Fire Festival was at. Uh,
Oh.
it's near that, like the jail. It's like on Center Street. It's like right in the
Yeah,
like
with the
city.
courthouse.
Exactly. So
Mhm.
they have me there. I finally like, they don't take my shoes from me. The only thing they took was my cell phone,
Okay.
and my keys. They still let me have my jacket. A lot of time they take people's jackets away.
Mhm.
And they didn't take away any of that. And I thought that was interesting. But they finally put me in a room. I'm in there, and it's like I'm like, you know, I know in this situation, like I'm a 5'2" girl with purple jeans. Like if I'm in jail, like yeah, you might fuck with me.
Mhm.
Like I'm small, like whatever. But I've always known, like, yeah, from this up to this point, I've been running my mouth. But
Right.
I also know when to like shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
I do know. So I
Read
get
the
into
room.
there exactly, and I'm
Mhm.
tired, and I decide to like I'm go in and I see like random women. It's very diverse,
Mhm.
but a lot more like my people I see, and like fellow POC, and it's just I'm not gonna fuck with anyone. I don't know anyone. I know to shut the fuck up. I
Mm.
right away I sit down. There's a bench there. I don't even want to sit on a bench because I don't want to, like, what if someone's like, oh, I'm sitting there. You also don't know
Yeah.
why someone's in jail. Like if someone's like tweaking from something, if they
Mhm.
fucking and I'll tell you like later what I found out some of these women did. So I sit down on the floor in the corner. And there's a bench like where you can sit down. It's just like, like a wooden thing that's like to the wall, like clasped to the wall. You could sit down and I just kind of lean on it and I take a nap. I go to sleep for about 90 minutes. And because it's nighttime, there random women have mats and blankets and they're like over here random spots.
Okay.
And so I'm asleep and I don't want to wake anyone up. And then out of like probably about 90 minutes in, like someone actually taps me, and it's this woman, and she goes, "Hey." And I was like, "Hey, what?" I was like, "Oh," I was like, "I can move." She goes, "No." She goes, "There's a mat and a blanket. I just woke up. You want to go to sleep if you need to go to sleep."
Yes,
And
sisterhood.
right? And I was like, all right. I was like, oh, thank you so much. She goes, you don't, they're about to give us breakfast. Do you want my milk? I was like, no, I'm good. Thank you. Like,
Mhm.
also knew the drill, which I thought was sweet.
Yeah.
And so it was, there was some of them, women there were like prostitutes, sex workers, is what I
Mhm.
call them, because they're just women doing their thing.
Absolutely.
Um,
Everybody would do what they had to do if they had to do it.
Exactly. So, and I'm like, we're all in the same spot, and I've never
Mhm.
been one of those people that thinks, oh, I'm better than this person or
Absolutely
whatever.
not. No.
So I'm in there, and she just kind of, she's like, oh, hey, go lay down. I'm like, you sure? She goes, no, lay down. You've been sleeping here. Go lay down so you don't like hurt your back. I'm like, okay, thank you. Like, that was very
Big mom
sweet.
energy.
Right? I was loving it. Then I take a nap, then I get up, and then another girl gets there. Um and everyone's kind of awake, and they're like, dang, I just want to get out of here. Everyone starts just like talking and fucking and
Mhm.
like telling while they're in. One woman was there, she like stabbed her son.
Mhm.
And she's like, I stabbed my son. I go, dang. And I go, the other thing I was like, I didn't even say anything like she was crazy. I was like, well, what'd he do?
Yeah.
I knew better. I was like, well, what'd he do? He was just like mouthing off, but she stabbed her son.
Yeah.
And then there was this one girl that was in there that was like 19. She got caught with her boyfriend who had like a kilo of coke, and I'm like, why are you
Okay.
dating this guy? Like, you're gonna fuck up your life. We're like giving
She's
her
like, "He
tongue,
has money."
right? Exactly. And then they I don't know, have you ever been arrested before?
You know what? I'm gonna knock on wood on that one. I have not.
Okay,
But
okay.
it's early in the afternoon, so who knows where the day can go.
Right? So I'm talking to all these people and they're asking me what I did, and they're like,
Mhm.
dang, that's baller. Yo, that's
Mhm.
badass. They're giving me these props. And because I'm kind of embarrassed because I'm just thinking, dang, you got arrested. Like it's that little shame of being arrested.
Well, yeah, a little there's a stigma, but people don't even know if this man yeah,
Situations.
if this man hadn't shoved you,
I would have never
it
done
was
that.
the
Exactly.
catalyst. So it's like, everybody just take their judgment train down a couple notches.
Exactly. And so I'm just telling them this, and they're like, "That's baller, you."
Yeah.
And then one of them called me. I used to tell this bit where like they called me Pocahontas in there, and I just thought it was like the funniest thing
Yeah.
ever. Like, well, what's your name? No, I'm gonna call you Pocahontas. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm like, I'm not mad. I was
Yeah.
like, it was interesting because I was like laughing and just like listening to their stories and like getting arrested for yeah, like I was like on the corner selling my body or whatever. It's like who gives a fuck? I was like, you weren't hurting anybody.
Right.
And it's interesting, like I'm talking to all these women, and then sometimes people will come in, whoever's in charge of that, and like say someone's name inside there, they're gonna, go talk to their lawyer, da 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 da, kind of situate everything. Eventually they call me and they have me talk to a lawyer, and the lawyer's like, you did this and this. I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, he goes, um, were you drinking? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, they didn't write that down. And he goes, they didn't give you a sobriety test. They never gave me a sobriety
Oh,
test.
thank God.
Thank God. So they didn't give me a sobriety test, which I mean, I was pretty drunk, but at this point, it was like it was adrenaline. Once I got pushed to the wall, it was like adrenaline snapped me
Yeah.
the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
But if they would have tested my blood alcohol level, I would have been drinking and driving.
Yeah.
And also, they never caught me behind the wheel or any of it, so it was like they don't really have a case there.
Mhm.
So he talks to me and he's like, "Okay." They sent me back. Eventually, someone else called me. They were taking me to a different cell to be by myself. I guess because they saw the hospital thing and they go, "Oh, you're not supposed to be in there. You're supposed to be in a cell by yourself." So they take me to a different building. They put me in the car again. I'm going all over every precinct in New York City. They take me to another precinct, and it's basically like a long row, and it's single file. It's not like solitary confinement, but you are in
Yeah.
there by yourself. They're bigger cells. Um, and the only people that are in there are women who, they obviously have like had a bad interaction with like a drug, and it's like hitting
Mm.
them at that moment. So in order to
Okay.
keep them safe and the people in the safe, and one person next to me was just yelling and yelling at you.
Mm.
At this point, like she goes, hey, they have your wallet. I'm gonna give you your wallet. So they gave me my wallet.
Thank God, yeah.
And I was like, cool, thank you. And then I just went, and I mean, I was like, my stomach was upset. So like, I mean, obviously I drank a lot of cheap vodka the night before. So I took like a really big shit in there. And I was just like praying
Marking
that
your territory.
right. I'm like, that's what I say. I go, you go and you take a shit and you let them know this is yours. So I'm in this cell by myself. I take a shit. The woman like gave me toilet paper before, which was
Yeah.
great. And I flushed it, and I go and I lay down and I take another nap, probably for about like 45 minutes. And then I'm just sitting there chilling, and this one woman's yelling, and this woman's just like, I need to see my doctor. I see this. They're like, you need to calm down. When am I gonna get out of here? I've been in here for 5 hours. Da, da, da. And time fucks with you. So I'm just thinking, I've been here 5 hours too, haven't I? I think I was only there for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And the woman who was in charge of it was very nice. She was going by, and then she went to me and she was, hey, it's lunchtime. Do you want anything from McDonald's?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, nah, I don't. I didn't want to. And she goes, come on, do you want anything? I'm like, I don't know, maybe give me some chicken nuggets. She goes, I'm gonna get you the meal. What do you want to drink? I'm like, an orange stuff. She's like, all right.
Oh my gosh.
30 minutes later, she went and got everyone. Like, I don't know, it's like 4 or 5 people, 4 or 5 women in there, and it was very small orders. And she's like, "Oh, I got you your chicken nuggets. Here's some napkins. Here's this. You want ketchup?" And I have my orange soda. So ate some chicken nuggets. I ate the chicken nugget meal, uh, in jail. And then they finally call my name, and I go in front of the judge, and the judge like looks at me. Like, they bring me in, I'm still
Mhm.
in purple
Feet too,
jeans,
right?
feet too, purple jeans. They take me in front of the judge, and he's like, "Garza, docket, da 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 da," and then he reads, and his face was just, okay. He read the story, and he just like, "Okay, we're gonna let you go. You're gonna show up at court this time, blah blah blah." But I could tell he kind of wanted to laugh,
Yeah.
um, because randomly, I forgot to mention this throughout the day. Random cops were like, "Hey, are you the one that drove the cab?" "Yeah, I did." "Is that you? Are you the one? I heard you have a smart mouth." I'm like, "Yeah, I do." "You the one that drove the cab?" "Yo, this is the one. Hey, this is the one. Tell her what you did." I was like, "Okay." So, and this is when Roberto's there. I'm like, "Oh, I drove." Da, 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 da." So I've told this story. I think maybe I've neglected to tell the story for so long is because I told it so many times that day
While it was happening.
while it was happening to like 30 different cops, it seems like. And they gave me my little Metro card, and I got my Metro card. I had my stuff, and the first thing I did, I step out of there, and the first thing I do was hail a cab.
No.
Hail a cab
No, you
and
did it.
go, yeah, first thing I said, got in, and I went to
She's
my,
back.
I was like not even in a step, very New York, got a cab, and then I took it to Brooklyn to go see my friend Gina, and I was like, "What time did you get home?" She goes, "I think I got home," because she ended up going with one of her booty calls. Da, da, da.
Uh-huh.
I go, "Listen what happened to me." And she picked me up from the first time I got arrested. First time I got arrested in Dallas for public intoxication. I called her. I'm like, "Hey, pick me up from jail."
Mhm.
And she rolled up in her fucking like Geo Prism, and
Mhm.
she blasted the remix.
Geoprism.
Yeah, she blasted the remix of Mariah Carey's Fantasy with ODB.
ODB, yeah.
And I came out, and the first thing I heard was, "What you gonna do when you get out of jail?" And she had me some McDonald's. I didn't. She had picked me up McDonald's before going to pick me up the first time. So when I got there, I was like, "Listen to this,"
You're like, "I'm
and
gonna do the remix."
yeah, I was like, "I just did it." She was like, "Dang, dude, it was just like old times. I wish I had my prism. I would have picked you up."
Oh my god.
And I mean, to get to I eventually had a court date for it in March. Roberta was there. They gave me it was like unauthorized use of a motorized vehicle, but
Mm.
because my license and ID is from Texas, the judge was under the implication that I flew back into New York City for the court case. So he goes, "Oh, and you came?" I go, "Yeah, I came back to New York City for this court case because I knew that would like give me like a little bit of leeway." So I
Yeah.
think he only gave me like 10 hours community service, and I was on probation for like a year. It was a year. It was a year. He
Okay.
goes, "Stay out of trouble. Don't do anything stupid. If you're ever in New York City, don't, stay out of trouble,
Mhm.
and you should be fine." And it was interesting because had I been tested, my blood alcohol level, I would have got something like drunk driving. All the other the cases, because I was in there listening to all the cases, all the drunk stuff, like drunk driving stuff, they were getting, I'm talking 300 hours of community
Yeah.
service, anger management,
Classes.
classes, da 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 da.
Uh-huh.
And it's true. Why would anyone drunk drive in New York City? But that's true. That's why I was trying to take a cab. But so that was like my good grace, and that was the end of that. And Roberto eventually unfriended me, which I don't.
Big
Who
loss.
cares? Who
Yeah.
cares? Who cares? He's an asshole.
Mhm.
But that's no longer on my record, and I sometimes forget that happened. So that is very like New York, but also like
New
what the hell?
York. Yeah.
And that is my story.
Oh my god. What a story that was. That was fantastic. I mean, the way you handled it too, you just handled it like a boss. You were not I mean, however anybody handles getting arrested, that's your journey. That's your journey. But you handled that with such swag. I'm
I did.
obsessed.
I'm like, how was I that cool? But then I want to tell you this. I got arrested again later. This was
In New
maybe about,
York?
yeah, 4 or 5, because I was drunk. I took the train home. I had got, I was passing by the precinct in Astoria that's right by that Burger King.
Mhm. Oh, I know the
And one of
one.
the cops said something like, "Look at you, look at this drunk tank." And I said, "Shut up." And then I went to Burger King and I got myself some food and I got fries. And then when I was walking home from that side, the same officer was like, "Oh, there you go, got your food, drunk tank." And I walked back over there and I threw fries in his face.
Okay, that'll get you arrested.
And that got me arrested. But it was right over there. That was my fourth arrest. I haven't been arrested since then, but I'm also like, yeah, fuck this guy. I don't care.
If you when you
Uh,
got arrested there, did they just throw you in the little cell at that precinct, or did you have to go
no,
elsewhere?
they took me to the one out in Kew Gardens,
Jesus.
and I had to go out there. That one was chill. I remember I told the people I was sitting in like the cell with that I did comedy. They're like, "Oh, tell us some jokes," and so they had a good time. Um, it is what it is. It was what it was. But that third one, my first time being arrested in New York City, everything about it, I don't tell the story a lot. And like I've said, it's maybe it's because I've told it so much, so told it so many
Yeah.
times that day. But I do. It's so random.
Yeah.
And I think
Um,
that's wild.
I I would say that was the chef's kiss of wild. I'm absolutely obsessed with it. I don't know what it says about me that I want to, when the pandemic is over, go out partying with you. I don't know
I'm
what that
so
says
much
about
more
me.
I'm so much more chill. I mean, I'll rage a little bit, but also I'll be like, "Text me when you get home. Let's all get in a cab.
Yeah, yeah,
Alright,
yeah,
send me
yeah.
your location. Send me your drop PIN. Send me your little location for the next hour so I know you're going home." I'm so much better
You
now.
know
And where
what can
we
happen.
I do know what can happen, but my girlfriend purposely moved basically in a perfect spot where I can walk home from all the bars I
Oh,
go to
nice,
now, and I'm
nice.
like, all I gotta do is just, like, stumble home.
Oh man, that was amazing. Well, I'm glad
Thank
you
you.
made it out of that situation. You dodged a
Thank you.
bullet with Roberto, because maybe, who knows, you might have banged that guy and then turned out, how much does it suck once you find out you banged an asshole? You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. I'm so glad I didn't. I haven't looked him up since. I don't know what he's up to.
Right.
Um, but yeah, he kind of got mad about it, and I'm just thinking, dude, you could have talked about this. This is a great story too. I'm sure he tells it and he says something about this crazy girl, and I
Mhm.
was a little crazy, but also like I was in my 20s. Like who
Yeah.
wasn't?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Now, what are some of your hopes post-pandemic? Are you hoping to still hit the comedy scene hard? Are you think
Hmm.
Yeah,
Definitely. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to mean I get booked a lot now. I'm doing
good.
a lot more, virtual shows.
Mhm.
That's great. And it's lineups that I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, I watched this person or I've seen this person's late night
Yeah.
set so many times. It's like I'm fans of a lot of comedians.
Yeah.
Even I'm fans of my friends, but I look forward to seeing my comedian friends. I miss them. I miss like I that became my family doing comedy. My
Mhm.
performer friends, my comedy friends, people I've done shows with, like even people that do improv. I'm like, oh, I know this person. If we're on a show together, I'm like, oh, I'm so excited.
Small
I
community. It's big, but
Very
it's
small community,
small.
and it's very sweet. And then they are not just comedians; they're my friends, and I miss telling them I love them. In person.
Yeah.
Like I miss
Well,
my oh, I'm like tearing up because I miss my friends so much.
yeah. No, I get that, but it's coming. The light is
Yes,
at the end of the tunnel. So I want to ask you two more things.
yes, go for it.
What advice would you give to a young woman in New York City who's wild, fun, having a good time? What advice would you give to her if she gets arrested?
Um, Definitely. Before that, if you're in New York, make friends with a lawyer so that you can
Make friends
call.
with a lawyer.
Because I did that for that fourth time. I called my friend who's a lawyer, and
That's
she
great
like just.
advice.
I was like, hey, I have like three different friends who are lawyers, and I called her. She knows she's my person. She's my
Mhm.
go-to.
Mhm.
So she talks through everything for me. One, make a friend when you get to New York City that is an attorney. There's
Mhm.
that.
Number
Two,
1.
if you're getting arrested, just you can't really don't say shit. Like they'll
Mhm.
arrest you. For the most part, like depending on the circumstance, it feels like if you just go through the motion, let them arrest you. You can talk to someone, and that there's a chance that can be cleared up. Is all I'm
Mhm.
saying. There's a very big chance that can be cleared up. Um, it just all of it depends on your behavior after the arrest.
Absolutely. And now my second question, where can everybody find you online? What's up next for Veronica?
Yay. I mean, check me out. Find me on Instagram. Just type in Veronica Garza. My handle at Veros_got_jokes. Find me on
Perfect.
Twitter. Just type in Veronica Garza comedian. I'm sure I'll pop up. That's handle at Veros_broke. Find me on YouTube, Veronica Garza comedy. I mean, just reach out to me if you see me on social media and be like, hey, I see that you're performing so and so, or ask me where I'm performing. I
Yeah.
need to actually, my thing in the pandemic, one of the things I've worked on is my website. So I will have that up.
Beautiful.
I have yet to push publish because I'm kind of scared still. But I'll have that eventually up. But yeah, just
Mm-hmm.
like, find me on social, or if you see me somewhere. I mean, most people recognize my cute dog, which you'll see on social.
What's your dog's
Uh,
name?
Colin.
Oh,
He's
one of my
very
best
sweet.
friends, his name's Colin. It's a great
Is he
name.
nice? Is he
He's
nice?
wonderful. He's a
Okay,
wonderful
good.
person. Yes.
Our Colin's very sweet. He just turned. This is his birthday week, so he turned 2.
Happy birthday to
So
Colin.
yay! We totally had a birthday party for him in the park on Sunday.
You
Very
gotta do
very
it.
lesbian, very gay, very Brooklyn. We looked like fools, but I'm okay. It's a pandemic. Who cares,
You're
right?
checking all the boxes.
All of them. And yeah, just like if you see me out somewhere, hit me up. I don't care. I'm very excited to like talk to people.
I'm very excited. I know that we're going to grab a drink together post pandemic, and
Yes.
I'm very, very excited to. I feel like you've got a couple more wild night stories to share with me in person, and so I'm looking forward to that. And I
Yes.
thank you so much for sharing your story. That was super personal and super wild. So
Thank you.
I couldn't have asked for a better one. So thank you so much for
Thank
doing
you.
the show, Veronica.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Bye.